we were called Ferris, named after my best friend. This is a deep cut. And we sound like shit.
Yeah, what's up?
How's it going?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm great.
I
Nice
love
to
your
meet you, Adam.
background.
Oh,
Is that a piece of steak?
yeah, I totally forgot about this. This was from a conference. Let me see if I can turn it off.
A
Raw
conference.
meat. Yeah.
Oh, that's hilarious. You can leave it
Um.
up. I think it's
Oh yeah.
funny.
Yeah, if that's fine. Yeah, as is.
Yeah, as is. I think it's creative.
Super rare.
Super rare.
Yeah.
Rad, dude. Well, I appreciate this. My name's Adam, and this is about you and your journey in music. And we'll talk about the EP that's coming out. I think in about a month, right? A little over a month.
Yeah, July 15th.
Sweet.
That's the plan. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Are you in Nashville?
Yeah, I am. I'm in
Yeah,
Nashville.
I did
Where,
research.
oh, well, thank you.
Yeah.
Whereabouts are you? Are you LA?
I'm in Los Angeles. I moved here in January.
Oh, cool. Originally from Atlanta? Is that what I saw?
Yes. Yeah, I'm from Marietta, Georgia. It's about 25 minutes north of the city. A dark suburban place. Good times. And before that, I grew up in New Orleans.
Okay. Were you born and raised in New Orleans?
I was until I was 9, and kind of jumped to Atlanta after Katrina.
Cool. Oh, hi, Gabby.
Hey, Gabby.
Oh, can't hear her.
No audio. It's okay. Well, very cool. This is the podcast. Is this recording right now?
Yeah, but I'll cut out the beginning. We'll just restart.
No, that's all good. I like digital footprint, keep it here forever.
Cool.
It's here to stay.
It's here to stay. But I'll edit it. Rad. Awesome. Let's see I don't know what's wrong with something. My mic. All good, Gabby. Thank you so much. We'll just rock if that's cool.
So you moved to Nashville, and when was this?
I moved to Nashville in February of 2021.
Okay, word. Yeah. My grandparents live there.
Really?
And they're always complaining about it's like 1,000 people a day moving here.
All of us Californians taking over.
Yeah. No, it's great.
Dude, it's funny because when we moved here, I had no idea that was a thing, like that all of California was moving here. It just happened to fall in line with my wife and our kids and everything that we were planning on doing anyway.
Right.
And we got here, and every time I'd made someone like, oh, nice to meet you, I just moved here. They're like, let me guess, you moved from California? I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
They're like, you're like the 120th person I've seen today that's from here. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Over it. No,
yeah.
It's such a specific place. I do you get isolated there? I mean, I love it, but I feel, I guess, sometimes when I'm landlocked, I get a little weird, but
definitely isolated, I would say, because I don't live in Nashville. I live south in the suburbs. I have 2 kids, so we wanted to get them, schools down here and all that, and have more space and that whole thing. Because I'm originally from San Diego. I lived in San Francisco for a little bit of time, back to San Diego, and then my wife is from San Diego, and our kids were born in San Diego. So like that's all we knew as California. So we moved here, and we're like, oh, it's like nice to have space and greenery and people that are nice all the time to let you get it, like let your car in, like just like little things that I was all new to me.
Yeah. I mean, it's war out there. So
it's just interesting that everyone's moving here, which I had no concept of.
Yeah, it's a great place though.
Mm-hmm. So you said you grew up, or you were born in New Orleans, but you moved right after Katrina. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so tell me about being born there real quick, pre-Katrina, and then we'll get into the move.
Pre-Katrina, yeah. I mean, it was it was the early 2000s, you know. I had nothing to worry about,
Life
man.
was good.
Life was life was okay, you know. I mean, I had a great childhood of all things aside, like you know, and we yeah, we there was a lot to take away from being a kid in a city like that, just like ultra ultra diverse, you know. Got to see some cool shit, got to see some wild shit, got to see things that a child should never have to see, and everything in between, you know.
Mhm.
um and then we jumped over to Atlanta. We moved in with my aunt for a year, because you know we were kind of just relocating, and um those were dark times. And
Yeah,
then
I mean, I don't want to dig into the
yeah,
trauma, but
yeah.
I'm just curious,
No,
like,
yeah.
when it comes to that, like, I mean, New Orleans, huge music city. Were you in New Orleans and like, were you, you know, were absorbing everything that was happening down there as far as that went?
Yeah, yeah. My dad was like a local musician, and so
Oh,
I
cool.
definitely, you know, had a lot of musicians around the house all the time, and feel very fortunate, you know, to be going to shows at a young age, and just seeing all aspects of, like, you know, just the ceiling there is so weird and specific of like great musicians. It's like you could pull any guy off the street that plays, you know, trumpet or upright bass, and bring him to LA, and he'd be the best trumpet or bass player LA's ever seen, you know. But
Right.
it's so like, it's so low key for everyone. So yeah, it was a super sick place to grow up.
What did your dad play?
My dad played. He was a guitar player, singer, did some piano and trumpet as well.
Oh, cool. And
Yeah,
were you drawn to any of that as a kid, like pre-moving to
he
Georgia?
definitely. I definitely was, and I think kind of primarily started on piano, and then also you know, picked up guitar and trumpet later on, but more so in high school with like marching band and whatnot. You know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And so obviously tragic, Katrina happens. I'm sure it was a, you know, I can't even imagine that situation. Are you guys are like trying to what get out with everybody else? Like, were you directly affected as bad as it looked?
I mean, it was cool. I mean, because I was 8 and or 9, and it was and I didn't know what was going on, and we were out of school, you know. It was like it was like that was kind of my vibe, but my parents were, yeah, they were going through a nightmare. And we um had this kind of like network of like kids. Like there's a couple kids I went to school with that we all just like caravan to Memphis originally, and we stayed in Memphis for 6 weeks because one of their like grandparents had like a house open that we were able to use, because they just bought a new one. And so there was like 4 families living in this, like, you know, 3-bedroom house for like 6 weeks. And then
Wow.
um we all kind of went our separate ways, and some of them went back to New Orleans, and and then some of us, you know, kind of just sprawled out across the southeast. And you know, all those kids I evacuated with, like, uh we're still super tight because of that. And it's like, you know, I mean, like, it's one of those things where trauma brings people closer or whatever. And
Sure.
every Thanksgiving we spend together, and
Oh,
try
wow.
and see them 2 or 3 times a year. That's the, like, those are the original, that's just like, that's the real family, you know.
Yeah, I mean, wow. I literally cannot even imagine that, like how scary that was. I mean, I mean, being 9 years old, maybe you didn't totally understand what was going on. Maybe you did, but I mean, for your parents too, like trying to get you guys out of there and the chaos that was happening, and then trying to find a place to stay. And then now you're in Memphis, and then, okay, what do we do now? You know, and then you end up moving to Georgia. It sounds like to live with your aunt.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean, it happens to a lot of people. I mean, there's a it's I think there's like, you know, I mean, with a certain privilege, I get to say that's like, it makes it a lot like easier to live. I feel like after you experience something like that, in that, like, just feeling like rid of any like material attachment, and just like like anything you're attached to, just getting to like restart fresh, as like, you know, as fucked up as it can be at the time. You just like, the stuff comes back, all that, like, you know,
Mhm.
you are resilient, you do recover, and there's something to be said for that. And also, you know, there's like what, like a 75% chance the biggest earthquake LA's ever seen supposed to hit in the next decade. So like
Right.
so part of me is also just like, yeah, whatever, like let's get it, you know, whatever's next.
It's funny. People move to LA thinking, or it's California thinking like, oh, like, I don't know, the earthquake thing. And it's like, I lived in California for 37 years, and I like like I can remember earthquakes, and I remember
Yeah,
like some pretty bad ones, but never
yeah,
like to the point where, like, when I moved here, we had been here for like 2 weeks, and there was like this gnarly lightning storm and like a
right.
tornado coming. I'm like, this is like way more frequent than any earthquake I ever felt.
Yeah, but this Cascadia subduction earthquake, man, 600-mile fault, it's going crazy, West
They've been
Coast.
talking about it, man, for
Let's
like since
go.
I was a kid.
Let's go. I can't wait.
Oh
I
my goodness,
It's about
man.
to be devastating.
It's yeah, yeah. I don't I don't even want to put that out in the world, but so
Bad
yeah,
vibes.
so you moved to Georgia, and you are obviously continued playing. You said you played in marching band and stuff. When you was that when you got there, like later
Uh
in high school days and stuff
yeah,
like that?
yeah, like yeah, in high school and middle school, kind of just jumped into the band world, and then, you know, started playing in bands as well. Um uh Kind of just, you know, piecing together friends that played instruments and playing at like teen clubs, you know, as you do. Like
Yeah.
um and it was like a I have some of, you know, the best people in the world that I know are from, like, you know, from Georgia, and I absolutely love that place. And it's like one of those places where you just kind of like grow up hating your environment. um you know, it's very uninspired. Like a lot of Georgia's like landscape is very uninspired, you know, like strip malls and all that. But uh hating your environment, but just kind of like, you know, making those creating those avenues for how to have fun and how to experience freedom or some semblance of like um just a creative life
Hmm.
in those worlds is what it's all about.
Were there a lot of kids around that you hung out with that were doing band things? Like, was there like a scene where you're growing up, or was that mainly in Atlanta?
It was, you know, I think like once I kind of like approached you know, the end of high school and like and entered like beginning of college, that's kind of where like we, you know, had some semblance of community in Atlanta itself, um
Hmm.
between like an underground rap and like just kind of house shows and bands and different all types of different acts and creative outlets and artists. um but yeah, there was definitely a super um unique and creative community that emerged from there. um at the time it was like the kids we were looking up to were like all at like Awful Records, which was a which is still around, but it's a small label that kind of I believe Father started. He's a sick artist, with uh a lot of different acts from like Playboy Cardi run through there, Abra, Danger Incorporated, a bunch of them, that definitely like fueled the energy of the streets in the like mid tens. You know,
Hmm. Okay. And
yeah.
what was it like? What did your band sound like? Were you in like the band you had in high school? Were you the singer? Like, were you the songwriter in that project?
Yeah. We were called Ferris, named after my best friend. This is a deep cut. And we sound like shit.
All right. So, so from that band, you said you went to college. Did you go to school for music?
No, not at all. I was like telling myself I'd do marketing, and then communications seemed easier, and then like and then that turned into just getting stoned and making beats for my friends to rap on. And then that, you know, turned into like SoundCloud wormholes and like
Okay.
um and then that turned into some like, you know, more semblance of community that turned into label meetings and like little things like that. Um so, you know, at a certain point in college, I was just like, oh, my heart is not in this degree at all. I am fucking around, like, and just kind of made the jump with a bunch of weird gigs along the way. So wedding DJ for a year.
Really?
Yeah, North Georgia. I saw a lot of like, like blue jeans weddings, where like all the groomsmen have blue jeans on, like that vibe.
Okay. Yeah.
Or like the bridesmaids have like neon yellow dresses, and like all right, I guess I'm about to play like 9 Bruno Mars cuts tonight.
I was gonna say, like,
yeah.
you have to approach all those weddings a little bit differently, I would think.
Yeah, well, you would have like, they would have like a playlist they would like kind of like make, and then I would ignore it.
I was gonna say, which was probably so fire. They're like,
yeah. There's a couple weddings that were like, all right, taste, like 303, y'all are going crazy. Like, yeah, it was really funny to see what certain bridezillas would like recommend, but yeah, the hits, September, Earth, Wind, and Fire, never gonna fail on a dance floor in a wedding.
There you go. So you did that for a bit. You're still in college at this point?
Yeah, you know what, honestly, I was having label meetings at that point. It was really funny.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I was like, I was just, still paying rent and everything, so I was just trying to make it work. And
how did you get to that point of you said you went from college to focusing on making beats, and then getting in that, were you in that like SoundCloud community, where, I mean, that was such a knit kind of niche thing a lot of artists that I've spoke to kind of came out of?
Yeah, I I felt I definitely felt a draw to that community. I would never I've always felt like probably an outsider in that world, but I was still posting and making friends through SoundCloud, and having a definitely was a point of influence. And there was a underground rapper named Six Dogs, our friend Chase, who was like definitely kind of like the what weaved everything together for a lot of us in Atlanta, and kind of just like was just like the glue that like brought everyone together in our kind of world in like 2018. And yeah, so SoundCloud definitely was a really fun place and time for me in that era, which predates hyperpop, and it was definitely like cloud rap era.
Yeah. When did the meetings with labels come? Was that later than that? And like, what was the moment that kind of changed, that got that attention towards you?
I mean, I really I really don't know. It wasn't, I feel like I wasn't really buzzing like that or anything. It was just from posting on SoundCloud that there's some A&Rs were just kind of digging through the wormhole and would see some stuff. So we just started getting emails from there, and like, oh, this is spam, and then reply to one, and yeah. But it's not like the rest is history or anything. It's all there's definitely not a finish line, and also labels, in a lot of ways are kind of I don't want to say outmoded, but like just they there's definitely new models that are being embraced on how to be an artist in this landscape we've
For
created.
sure. Well, with that being said, like, when did your project start? When did Grandma start? Was that with the SoundCloud beats that you're creating?
Yeah, yeah. That was like, that was like 2018. I believe. I was just, and if I had known better now, like about SEO, like search engine optimization, like Grandma, it's probably not the most ideal name.
I will say it was difficult to find your stuff.
Right.
If I didn't get a press release from you with your Instagram on it, I was like, yeah.
Yeah. So,
but it's a cool name. And
I mean,
and it goes back to your grandma living here in Nashville.
Yeah. Hey, do you have advice for search engine optimization?
Dude,
yeah, how do I
honestly, no, because my
should I
name,
add it? Yeah.
I was gonna say, if you Google our podcast name, you'll
Yeah.
find something else as well. I mean,
Yeah.
we've pushed out enough stuff where it's kind of the first forefront of it, but yeah.
But try beating grandma. Like there's so many grandmas. Yeah. It's hard. It's hard. No, it's really hard. I'm really getting pushed down. It's a nightmare
But
every day.
yeah, I mean, but it's a cool name.
Thank you. Thank you. So is Adam.
Well, thank you. Well, okay, so going back to 2019, when you like, I'm looking at your Spotify. So you put out like, even if we don't get it together, was that a song that came like later down the line once you had some stuff out via SoundCloud, and were those songs similar to what you are doing currently?
Even if we don't get it together, was definitely like more in the like kind of funk soul pop space.
Sure.
And this next project,
Well, comparatively to what you were doing on SoundCloud, I guess is
versus
my
what was
question.
going on in
Yeah,
SoundCloud.
yeah.
Yeah, it was definitely it was definitely different. I'm definitely pretty you know, I'm just always inspired, but it's always just a very inconsistent genre wise. So that was definitely a step in a different direction from the SoundCloud days, which were um more influenced in like um electronic music. I think like um that's a very broad term, but like house and um kind of like that flume era of like
Mm-hmm.
the uh the tens as well.
Sure. Yeah. Once you get into like the pandemic, was like, did that help your writing process at all or not? Like, were you doing something and then that like put a pause on what you had going, or like did that affect you as far as directly when it came to your music?
I mean, I think like momentum wise, it's like uh I mean, it was just a moment for perspective. Where just like, oh, like what are we all chasing at like this like trajectory or this like snowball you're trying to get rolling. It's like there was a lot of like wild conversations going on with artists about like how to blow up during quarantine. It's like, and or whatever. It's like it was just really like people were down bad, just like live streaming themselves, like doing live stream concerts. It's like all they knew how to do, or all we knew how to do or something. But like I
Well,
think
I mean, it was hard. A lot of people
yeah,
that were making that was their whole livelihood, right? Was touring, especially the
right.
people that were the tour managers or the crew. At least if you were the artist at the time, you could attempt to do like those things, but like they got so oversaturated too.
Yeah, it was hard, but it was also just like a man, like we are not essential workers at all. Like I know people will argue against that. People will say like, oh, artists help something, but I was just, I was kind of just in a phase of just like, man, like uh this who are we helping? Like I was being kind of maybe a bit of a nihilist, just but like we are not curing cancer over here. Like we're like really like, but I get it. Like it was it
It
was
was an
it was
outlet
just
for people
it
to
was an
like,
outlet for
yeah, it's
people.
a
Yeah,
distraction or not. I don't want to say distraction, but kind of, like gets
yeah,
you away from all the tragedy that was going
yeah,
on TV or around you.
yeah. Well, it was an inspiring time for me because I was in LA for probably the first few weeks of it, and then I just like bought a ticket to New Orleans and found an apartment I could like a kid I went to like kindergarten with, like her mom like just had a tenant move out or something. And so like I was in an empty apartment with an air mattress in New Orleans for like about 6 weeks or 2 months. And I would go into this coffee shop where I found this guy on TikTok who worked at this coffee shop who's or this person rather, who's like definitely schizophrenic. And like I would just go in and like have these like very like um kind of uh weird sedated like conversations with like every other day, and they would take me to a like a community garden, like a Habitat for Humanity garden after they got off their shift, and we would just and they would show me the kale and the kombucha, and it was just like I was just like in such like a strange headspace because I was only communicating with this like one person for like 6 weeks, and it was really a fun kind of like self-induced like mania, being there, because it was also a hotbed at the time. It was like, don't go to New Orleans, it's like it's they're remember when like
The
cities would have
outbreaks.
huge spikes, yeah,
Yeah.
and there was like a lot of fear around it, and yeah, so I would do that, and that was definitely an inspiring time, and definitely a time that I enjoyed writing, the writing process, and I still do.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
So then, I mean, well, with your song "Everybody's on Their Phone," was that something put out mid the pandemic, or was that before?
Yeah, that was written before the pandemic, but I did shoot that in New Orleans.
Oh, you did
Yeah,
a
when I was,
video.
yeah, that was
Okay.
on top of there's this abandoned naval base over there. So we shot that, and it was a great time. But yeah, that song was not meant to be a quarantine song. Definitely,
Right, which is
yeah,
interesting. That's what I thought. You wrote
yeah,
it in that sense because, like, it worked out. I mean, it worked.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
as
yeah,
unfortunate as it is,
yeah,
it kind of landed perfectly
yeah.
in that sense.
Yeah, it was funny. The whole sentiment was just being like everybody's on their phone, but it's like fine. That's just what it is now. Like we're gonna speed run youth subcultures and do all this the way we do it, but then it really just had a different meaning,
Mhm.
uh in its context of when it was released.
I
So it
love the
goes.
videos that you do, man. They're really
Oh,
like,
thank you.
yeah, they're super creative, and it looked just like the style of them, or it's the way you pull it off. It's like I know it has a certain tone that I know you're going for, and it works really well.
Thank you. Yeah. It's it's kind of just like you know s- it's part of that feeling of just kind of being sedated and dreamy and detached,
Hmm.
uh and still trying to hone in on the overarching vibes, you feel me, but it's I have started to enjoy the process, um on that end more and more, with each video.
Yeah, they're really good, man. They're really good. There. What's the video where the girls are in the front and then they open the door and you like, you know what I'm talking about?
um Girls are in the
Is
front,
it,
they open the door.
it's like how the video
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. This is
is
on my
that,
Instagram. Yeah, yeah. Okay,
yeah,
so
yeah,
this is the yeah, right. The sorority girls are
yeah,
open the door for,
yeah.
yeah, it's like the this like nightmare blunt rotation video of these like girls opening the doors to their sorority, and I just
Yeah, it's just
made
you
it.
come
Yeah,
out.
I just made myself. Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so the most recent song you put out was Blue Atlanta.
Yes.
Well, tell me about that. The video for that song is super cool as well.
Yeah, so I wrote that song after Chase, Six Dogs, that artist I was
Uh-huh.
telling you about earlier, he passed away,
Oh my
and
gosh.
that was just kind of like a uh like cathartic, um uh very emotional, kind of like love letter to my friends out in Atlanta, and just like it was just definitely like a grieving song, but
Hmm.
that video I shot with a good friend Jack Dalton, and we just, yeah, kind of wanted to um really establish like the that kind of that dreamy nature to feeling that kind of just like sedation and being totally out of it, especially in this like kind of in these like dark suburban environments that Atlanta has so much of. It's like, I think it's the most densely populated city with of trees. So, or like they call it like city in a forest or something like that. And so it's very it is very suburban in that way, and sprawled in that way. And we just kind of wanted to capture a little bit at least of what that feels like. Um but yeah, so that song is just about trying to get a grip, moving on, um and grieving, I guess.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm so sorry to hear about your friend. Like that's awful.
It's yeah, he touched a lot of people though, and he's in all of our hearts. So we definitely super thankful for the time he spent with us on earth, for sure.
For sure. Was that song written in LA, or were you in Atlanta when you wrote that?
I wrote the lyrics in Atlanta, and I took it in the studio and produced it with a friend of mine, Nate Donmeyer, and Johan Lennox in Los Angeles later on.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you said you said you moved to LA about a year ago or so, or a
Oh,
month?
I in January I moved here, but
January. Sorry.
but I've been coming here off and on for like little trips for about 3 years. So
Okay.
it's definitely back and forth.
Yeah. Well, tell me about the record or the EP. Angelhood is coming out in July, like a little bit over a month. What was that?
Yes.
Tell me about the album and like, or the EP and putting that together, and how long was like some of those songs, were they older, newer? I mean, as far as like
Yeah.
timeline goes and everything else.
Yeah, the first song we put out, I think, might be the first one I wrote. I Met God Online. That I probably wrote 2 years ago, um, and there's a bunch of different songs from 2 years to like a few months ago that have been written, and it's all um it's all about just my, I guess, my life and my experience, and finding out a way to live and exist, and feel any semblance of contentment. The title track, Angelhood, um is about a friend of mine, Ben, who he just was, I don't want to overshare or blow up his spot too much, but like he was, kind of a very impulsive guy, and like would just like was always trying to just like go to war, and couldn't get in the military, and for different reasons, and then one day just like dipped out of the country, joined the French Foreign Legion, like changed his name, and like and disappeared. And I didn't like,
Wow.
I have like no way to contact him, and so I've just been like, I just wanted something to that maybe could somehow find him, but I don't know. And and so yeah, it's just it's about coming to terms with your life and your existence, and it's definitely more rock, or rockier than the past project. More guitars, a little bit of prog, and we're having a fun time regardless. But yeah, Angelhood, July 15th.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, because the other ones aren't as guitar driven. They're more like, I feel like uh, electronic sounding, but like mellow electronic.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, the and I think I'll always have that as a return point. I love electronic music, but yeah, this just felt like it was the guitar was just the right instrument to address what I wanted to address,
Mm-hmm.
with the lyrics and all.
With that song in particular,
Yeah,
or is a lot of the record have guitars?
a
I mean,
lot of the record, a lot of the record does. Yeah, a lot of the record does for sure.
okay, but it's still but I Might Got Online will be on it,
Yeah, and
and
Blue Atlanta as well.
okay, very cool.
Yeah.
That's
Um,
exciting.
thank you, Adam. Thank you for doing this as well. And having a chat. I appreciate it a lot.
No, this has been awesome. I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much, Liam. This has been great.
Likewise. Do you have anything you'd like to plug?
Do you have anything you'd like to plug?
No.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
My last question for you is if you have any advice for aspiring artists.
Yeah, if make the music you want to hear. That's all.
Bringing it backward.